What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne Yang with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. In a rare visit, a Philippine delegation has traveled to Taiwan for a maritime forum. The delegation includes one former and two current senior officials, including a spokesperson for the Philippine Coast Guard. It comes after Manila lifted its decades-old restrictions on official travel to Taiwan in April. The delegation also met with President Lai Ching-te during their visit. Philippine participation is seen as a major milestone in Taiwan-Philippine relations, coming amid rising tensions between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea. And for more on the Philippine officials' visit to Taiwan, our senior reporter David Santos spoke to one of them, Coast Guard spokesperson Jay Tarriela, in an exclusive interview for TaiwanPlus. Though billed as the first Philippine delegation to visit Taipei since Manila eased restrictions on its official visit to Taiwan, Tarriela says he's here in his role as an academic. David began by asking why it's important that Manila takes part in the Maritime Forum.
So, Dr. Tarriela, talk to us about your visit to Taiwan.
I highlighted that it is important for all those countries who are experiencing bullying and violation of their rights as a country is that we don't have to be silent about it. We need to expose such aggression and tell that to the world. It doesn't mean that we want to provoke anybody or to escalate the tension, but it's important for us to tell the international community that as a peace-loving nation, there is this country, like the People's Republic of China, who violates international law, does not adhere to the law of the sea, and even bully ordinary Filipino fishermen.
What is the objective of this Maritime Forum, and what is the Philippines bringing to the table?
When you talk about Ocean Forum, it's not just about security. There are other issues, whether economic, trade, and investment. You also talk about, most importantly, the protection of the marine environment. So these are three pillars of maritime governance that we really need to look into. The first one is, of course, security. The second one, security and adherence to the international law. The second one is the protection of the marine environment. And the third one is the blue economy. These are the things that we can ignite the conversation and learn from each other.
Both the Philippines and Taiwan continue to face China's aggressive actions. What lessons are we learning from each other based on the engagements you've had in this forum?
We should stop calling it as gray zone already. In the Philippines, we have already stopped using gray zone activities, but we are there to call it out outright violation of international law. It is illegal, coercive, aggressive, and deceptive action on the part of the People's Republic of China. And then for us to learn from the Taiwanese government as well is to how do they deal with the misinformation and fake news. I think the Taiwanese people had been also subjected to information operation. How does the Taiwanese government deal with all of those misinformation that are also being spread out in different social media platforms?
You had the chance to meet the president of Taiwan. Did you get to speak to him, and what was the conversation like?
Well, I had a chance to ask a question to the president. He was actually kind enough to respond to a lot of questions from different delegates coming from different countries. But for me, I asked him that since we are part of the first island chain, and the Philippines is actually very close to Taiwan, in his administration as the president of Taiwan, how he can be able to further improve our cooperation in different dimensions of engagement. And he highlighted that under his administration, he really supports strengthening our cooperation in different dimensions. But he said the difficulty sometimes is on the those who are on the receiving end of the cooperation proposals that they have.
That was Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson Jay Tarriela. From export commodity to high art, Taiwanese lacquerware has taken all kinds of forms over the years. And a few families of craft workers are still looking to see how far they can take their tradition by putting them in front of new audiences. John Van Trieste reports.
The art of lacquerware is an intense craft that demands total commitment from the artist. Even the teeniest piece like this one takes at minimum half a year to complete. It's very much a matter of watching paint dry, as dozens, if not hundreds of layers of varnish are applied and dry one by one. And then there's the painstaking sanding needed to make the piece shine. This workshop, the Lai family workshop, is especially renowned for the number of layers it can manage to place on a single object, sometimes in the hundreds. And they've been doing it this way for decades. It hasn't always been easy. Like other craftspeople, the Lais took some time to regain their footing after plastic took over the market and export stalled sometime around the 1960s. But they found a way to keep the lights on and pass on their skills.
90年代当中就开始专做工艺美术、插画花杆一寡较大型的物件，较有装饰效果的物件。2000年当中就开始专做观光工厂的形式做艺术纪念馆。
The Lais aren't the only ones in the business focused on fine art these days. The Wang workshop dates back to the very earliest days of this craft in Taiwan, brought around a century ago by Japanese colonists. At 105 years old, patriarch Wang Jingshuang, educated at the Tokyo School of Fine Arts, is still using a brush, though mostly for paintings, rather than the everyday goods he once produced. At this studio, each layer of lacquer takes a month to dry, and a painting can have dozens of layers in some of its more textured places. Still, there's some regret in the family about the disappearance of lacquer as functional as well as fine art, and a sense that just maybe it's time for a comeback.
因为一般的生活上较无用到漆器，早期只有结婚的时才用到那个，比如说裁缝阿爸、勒阿爸啦，是用漆器的物件所以就对漆器来讲，足侪人都较陌生。漆器的推广应该就是两方面要兼顾啦。咱像日本来做一个咱的借鉴就好，日本伊就是把生活用品融入伫伊的大家人的生活中。
And maybe it could happen.
有没有看过什么是这个漆工艺？
Elementary schools like this could be the starting point. Lacquer shop owner Children Zhang doesn't just teach kids about lacquer.
7分钟先磨800号。
He shows them how to make simple lacquerware items themselves, things like chopsticks. This hands-on learning is stimulating.
好玩吗？
好玩。
你觉得哪里好玩？
And Chiu hopes the start of a lifelong engagement with the art form.
细汉的时阵，就培养伊这个价值，然后知影讲后摆大汉又知影讲，这个物件的天然性，这个物件的价值，为细汉开始培养，安尼后摆这个市场较有法度甲慢慢拍开。
Taiwan's lacquer artists have been honing their skills for a century, and they're confident the standards of art they've achieved have a future just as proud as their past. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, let's take a look at how two zoos, one in Rome and one in Belgium, are helping animals beat the summer heat. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
For more stories from here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and around the world, make sure to visit us on social media.